Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today I am out on a new bike. This is a 2023 KTM 390 Adventure. Now those of you that have been following my channel for a while might remember that I took this for a test ride. Well, not this particular bike, but I took this model for a test ride a couple years back during a KTM demo event and was really surprised at how much I like this bike. I never thought a 373cc motorcycle was going to be that capable and that much fun. And I actually found out a couple other things about this bike during that demo event. I was riding on a really windy day and I didn't have any trouble cutting through the wind. I thought, being that this was a lighter bike, I think it's like 371 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. But I had no trouble cutting through the wind or anything. I've had much bigger and heavier bikes that I've gotten blown all over the lanes that I was riding in and didn't feel as confident as I do riding on this bike at times. You know, my Tiger Sport 660, it's no longer with us. Nothing bad happened to it. I was just able to sell it for a pretty good deal, and it was a good time to get rid of it because I did want to pick up this bike as a secondary bike with the ultimate intentions on having a new primary bike. Some things are in the works. I don't know if it's going to ultimately work out or not, but if it does, I will have some future announcements on the channel. But if not, I do have a really fun bike in the meantime, and I really want to go out and explore some more dirt trails around Arizona, which is one thing that I have never been able to do before. So I'm really excited to kind of learn some new riding techniques. Now, of course, the riding style is quite different on this bike. I mean, the ergonomics aren't really that far off, but this bike is a little bit taller, but it's so much lighter and maneuverable. It's a complete change over the Tiger Sport, at least to me. Now, I really haven't done too much to this bike right now. I did do a couple little quick upgrades. I did put a official KTM GPS bracket over here so that I could mount a RAM mount with this little ball end attachment here, so I can mount my camera. And I did replace the clutch lever on here, because the one that came with the bike was super floppy and I didn't like the way it actuated. Just had multiple problems, so I wanted to swap that out with an aftermarket lever. The brake lever is the stock one. It is adjustable, but I'm still going to replace that to match the clutch lever, which I'll show you more during the walk around here. The only factory upgrade that I selected on this bike was the Quick Shift Plus, and it's basically a software quick shifter. The hardware is already installed. You just pay for them to unlock the quick shifter service on here. I don't know how I feel about that, but you know, I guess having it pre-installed from the factory and then just having it software actuated kind of saves some potential issues that I had with the Triumph, having the quick shifter installed aftermarket, and you know, depending on the dealership that you go to, you may or may not have a good end result. You know, if the dealership doesn't really know what they're doing, or if they have faulty parts and have issues, you know, during the install, then you could potentially have some problems, like which I did. I ran into that a couple times with the Triumph quick shifter. This one on here seems to, it's not as smooth as the Triumph, but it seems to work better, if that makes any sense. I've had better luck with the quick shifter on here than I did on the Triumph, at least until they, you know, kind of got it situated and figured out, calibrated properly. Funny enough, the quick shifter on here seems to be more reliable than the one on the Triumph. Just saying. It may not be as smooth, but it's definitely been more reliable. So right now I have a total of 34 miles on this bike. So it is during the break-in period. Break-in period is around 620 miles, I think. It's 1,000 kilometers. I think that translates to around 620 miles roundabout. I'm going to take it in at just about 600 miles and have the first service done probably at the dealership, and then after that I'll take care of it on my own. I always like to get that first service done by the actual authorized dealership just for warranty purposes. So I wasn't really expecting to get this bike when I got it. I've always had this one in the back of my mind, but the couple times that I was going to pull the trigger on it, nobody had one of these in stock. And you know, there were a lot of bike part shortages and bike shipments that weren't making it on time to the United States, and certain models were hard to get a hold of, stuff that was shipping from overseas. So a lot of the Japanese bikes, you know, the KTM models that were coming from India, those seemed like they came in large shipments, and so the dealerships would get 6 or 7 of them at a time, and they'd sell out in a week or two, and then you wouldn't see them for the rest of the year. So when I spotted one of these things at a local dealership, they got 7 of them in, and 6 of them sold within the first week. I had to put a deposit down on this for them to hold it just for a couple days so I could get down there and take a look at it. So being a 2023 model, this is the SW model, or the spoked wheel version. For this model year, there is no longer an option to get alloy wheels. You have the spoked option version, and that's it. There's also only one color option, this bright orange and black, but again, I'll show you more when I do the walk around. Honestly, I probably would have been fine with the regular alloy wheels. The type of off-road riding that I plan to do on this isn't going to be anything extreme. And I don't know how I feel about tubed tires at this point, but I guess I'll find out soon enough. One thing that has not changed is the low speed characteristics of this. It's got a really good low center of gravity on here, so it's really easy to maneuver pretty slowly. So the plans for today, I'm just out on a break-in ride. I'm just taking it for a little ride out into the twisties here. Just wanted to see how it performs, and maybe stop along the way to take some cool pictures. The mountains look really nice today. There's not a lot of haze out here, so should be able to get some nice pictures of this thing. Now there's a couple spots that are nearby here that I'd like to pull off and take some pictures of all my bikes. I just have to find out where they're at. Yeah, this little pull-off over here is one that I like to go to when I get new bikes. Get some really cool shots over here. Well, this looks like this bike's natural environment, right? Oh yeah, the mountains look really nice today. All right, photos acquired. I don't plan on doing any serious off-road stuff. This hard pack gravel dirt stuff is probably the type of riding surface that I'm going to be riding on the most, when I'm not on the regular paved roads. It does have a slipper clutch. The clutch is actually very, very light on this bike. And now that I have the new clutch lever on, so here's a peek at the new KTM adjustable lever. So this has very little play now. The problem I was having with the stock one was the actual clutch lever housing here. You couldn't tighten the bolt tight enough to get the actual clutch lever from flopping up and down. It was really annoying. So I did put a new lever on this side. It does have the fold up option instead of the breakaway option. So if I go down, this should swing up instead of cracking in half. And here's the stock brake lever. I do have a replacement one coming to match the clutch lever, but this one's fine though. There's no excessive wiggle on here, and it is adjustable, so the stock one's not bad. If I wasn't OCD about it, I would just leave it as is right now, but I did order the matching one for this side. But I want to get going before my GoPro dies out again. It's just getting overheated here. It's about 90 degrees out here in Arizona today, but when you're recording at 4K, this camera doesn't do very well. It does feel really good off-road though. Wow. I know some people might be a little bit disappointed that the Tiger Sport is gone. I'm definitely gonna miss it. I have already. It's been gone for about a month now, and I definitely do miss it. But the KTM does provide a little bit of support on what I miss in the Triumph. Yeah, completely different feeling than my Triumph on these same roads, but it still has its place. Yeah, the tires feel just a little bit squirrely if you lean it over too much. Definitely have to take it easy, I think, more on this bike than I did on the Triumph, for sure. At least until I get used to it. With that being said, I'm looking forward to future opportunities on the channel. I know some people out here that are familiar with some kind of off-road trails that aren't too risky to go off for the first time. I'm not really used to riding in dirt or anything like that, so this is going to be a completely new experience for me, and I'm looking forward to learning how to do some new riding. So hopefully you guys are interested in that, and will stay tuned for future videos. I never get tired of this ride out here. I love coming out here.
Bike.
Oh, thanks. Nice. I actually like that color better.
I The wheels, though.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay guys, I figured I owed you a regular walk around that I wasn't able to finish the other day because my GoPro kept overheating. So when I was out on that ride, doing the shakedown ride out to Tortilla Flat, I did stop on the side of the road and intended on doing a full walk around, but had to cut it short. So I guess let's start this walk around here. So we'll start out with the motor here. This is a 373cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder. Little thumper here. It's pretty vibey. I'm not going to lie. So you get a lot of vibrations in the foot pegs, even though there's a rubber block in there, and the handlebars. So after about an hour ride, my feet weren't really numb, but my hands definitely were. My fingertips, I felt it for about 10 minutes after I got off the bike, after riding for maybe an hour and a half total. So, you know, it's kind of to be expected. I'm not disappointed in that, but as long as you're aware of it, you know, going forward, I'm sure that, you know, there's things you can do to compensate, maybe different foot pegs or a different set of grips on the bike maybe. So looking at the frame here, this black and orange colorway extended over to the frame this year for some reason. Previous years that was black. I kind of like it. I wasn't sure at first, but it's growing on me. But this whole colorway is the only option for this year. And also, the spoked wheel version is the only option. I guess after a lot of customer requests, they decided to just make this standard. So these are TKC 70 tires on here. There's 19s on the front, 17s on the back. And they don't really specify, but I'm assuming that there's tubes in here because of the way the spokes are situated and because there's a lock nut on the valve stem here. So we'll see how that goes. I've never had tubed tires before on a motorcycle, so we'll see how that goes in the long run. I am planning on taking this somewhat off-road, but nothing too extreme, like maybe some you know, gravel or compressed dirt roads. It's probably the extent of it. I am new to dirt, so I don't want to go and do something too extreme where I'm going to screw this bike up like the first time out. So I'm going to take it slow. So power on this bike, it has 44 horsepower, which is decent. Like, it feels significant on the road. Again, I've got plenty of passing power,
I don't really feel underpowered at all. The suspension is from WP, so in the front we have 43mm inverted forks. Front suspension travel is 6.7 inches or around 170 millimeters. For the rear suspension, we have a WP Apex. Rear shock has preload and rebound damping adjustments. The rear travel is 6.9 inches or about 175 millimeters. We have a bi-bray single piston floating caliper on a 230mm disc for the back. So on the front we have a bi-bray 4-piston radial mounted caliper and a 320mm disc. And this bike has ABS standard, but there is an off-road mode, so you can turn off the rear ABS if you choose. Alright, looking at the dash, we have a 5-inch color TFT. And I have to say, this is probably the nicest dash that I've had on any of my personal bikes. So there are two rider modes. There's street and off-road. Now the off-road does retain its settings if you stall the bike, which is good. That's a sort of recent update, I think. Finally, this has integrated Bluetooth with the KTM Connect app for your phone. And that allows you to do navigation, music playback, basic functions like that. So the seat is 33.6 inches or 855 millimeters. Now I'm 6 feet tall and I can't exactly flat foot this bike. I can get pretty close. I mean, it's not uncomfortably high, but they do that mainly for ground clearance assistance. And the ground clearance is 7.8 inches or 198 millimeters. The weight is 371 pounds or 168 kilograms. Now, I was really surprised, being such a lightweight bike, that it handles so well, especially in sort of windy environments that I've struggled with heavier bikes before. Now, you will get blown around by the wind, just like with any bike, but it just seems to me like I've had a better experience on this than some of my other bikes in similar situations. Now the lighting here is partial LED and partial incandescent bulbs. You have full LED headlight and tail light, and your turn signals are regular bulbs. The tank capacity is 3.8 US gallons or 14.5 liters. According to KTM, this has a range of over 250 miles per tank. So I haven't owned it long enough to know if that's true or not. So we'll see what happens on the long-term review. Now the handguards came with the bike, and they do a decent job. Mirrors, not too much of a fan of the look of the mirrors. They have these large rubber gator type things over the stalks here, and they just look really huge, but they actually work really well. So when I first picked this bike up, I thought I was going to be swapping these out, but I think I'm actually going to keep them on here for a while. Now the controls seem a little bit budget feel on here, but they work good enough. You know, you get a positive click on the buttons, and some of them are even backlit. I'll probably cover that more on the in-depth review later on after I've had the bike for a while, but in general they work good. Now that I have the actual levers swapped out, it seems like a much more quality bike.
Now I had to get moving again because my GoPro started overheating again. So hopefully with some air moving over it, it'll stay on for a little bit longer. But while I'm looking for another location to pull over and finish the walk around, I can talk about some of the other things on here, like the windscreen. The windscreen is adjustable, but it's not adjustable on the fly. So you actually have to use tools and remove a bolt from the front of it. Right now it's on the low position. The higher position is only a couple inches higher. I guess I prefer the higher position. This is the first time I'm trying the low position on here. For that ride I did the other day, I had it on the high position, and it blocks a decent amount of air from your shoulders. In the low position, it covers up to like right over the GoPro, and then I feel a lot of air. So it does a decent job for what it is. It's probably good enough that I'm not going to look for an aftermarket solution right now at this point. I think I'll just keep this on here for a while and see how it does. I have noticed that the brakes on here, while the front ones work really good, some of the best I've had actually, the back brakes are probably the worst that I've had. So I'm hoping once I've had the bike for a while and the brake pads have bedded in, that the rear brakes will work better. I've been trying to use them more than usual just to get them broken in a little bit more, but like out of the dealership they were pretty bad. The other thing I can do is try putting some aftermarket pads on here if I don't get any improved performance out of the stock ones after a certain amount of time.
Alright, where was I? Well, I guess this is a good time to talk about the seat. So the seat is, it's not bad, the stock seat. Now, this feels more comfortable than the seat that was on the demo bike that I rode a couple years back. That one, after a 30-minute demo ride, I was kind of getting a little bit sore and ready to get off the bike. This one made it about 3 times as long before I started feeling any little bit of discomfort, and even that wasn't as bad as that original demo bike ride. So they've done some kind of improvements to the seat. I don't know if there's more padding or a different kind of padding or what happened, but it's a pretty good seat, and I don't have any immediate plans to replace it. So the rear of the bike needs a tail tidy really bad. I don't like the stock bracket here. I just received my license plate, and you need to keep this monstrosity on here in order for the plate to fit. So I went ahead and ordered a tail tidy for this, and hopefully I'll do a video on that sometime in the future. The stock exhaust, it's okay. I mean, it's a small, like, flat profile, so it kind of stays up and out of the way, and if you drop the bike on the side, it's not going to crush anything completely, so, which is probably why they designed it that way. So it's functional, it's not pretty. Just to give you an idea of the exhaust here. Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad. It's not obnoxious or anything like that. I would mainly be swapping it out just for the looks. Just wanted to add notes on the suspension. The suspension settings, the rear preload and these front adjusters on here, everything is set to factory standard, which is, it's not a comfort setting. It's kind of like right in the middle, and to me it feels really good. I'm not going to change that at all. And I am 6 feet tall, around 210, 215 ish. That standard setting works pretty good for me. And here is that screw for adjusting the windshield that I was telling you about. Just pop that screw out, and then you can move it up a notch, which is a couple inches at most. That being said, I'm probably going to put it into the topmost position though. I like that one a little bit better. Now I did want to quickly touch on lacking options on this bike. It's no surprise that there's no cruise control. I mean, at this price point, that would be really something special if it had it on there. It does have throttle by wire, so that's a nice feature. It is a decent smooth throttle too. It's not really jerky like some bikes I've owned or test rode. But the other thing that doesn't come stock is the center stand. I think the main reason for that is the way the exhaust is situated. So there are aftermarket companies that sell center stands for this, and that might be an option if you're doing a lot of serious off-road stuff. Just like the stock bash plate. It's good enough for me, but anybody doing serious off-road stuff is probably going to want to upgrade that because it's mostly plastic. So because I didn't have a center stand option that I liked for this, I just went ahead and put spools on the back, and I'm going to use that with a rear stand. So again, earlier I talked about the looks. Of course, the looks are subjective, and I wasn't really impressed with the orange when I got it, but that was the only color option available. But it's grown on me really fast, and I'll have to say I've never gotten as many compliments on a bike as I have on this one in the short time that I've owned it. I've only had this for a few weeks now, and I've probably got 5 or 6 comments from people that were driving by. A couple people on bikes, a couple people just in cars that rolled their windows down. They're like, hey, cool bike. I've never had that happen before. You know, when I took this thing for the shakedown run, I had this KTM GPS bracket on here. It's held in place by a screw on each side, and by the end of my hour-and-a-half ride, that thing had almost completely shaken loose from the vibrations on this bike. So I put some Loctite on it, but just FYI, if you get one of these, keep an eye on it.
Ooh, it's nice to get some wind going again. Alright guys, that's all I have for today. If you liked the video, please click that like button, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Downshift is amazing. A little bit hard finding neutral though. Just saying.